My name is Veronica Mueller, Fitness Supervisor for the City and County of Broomfield. Today we're in the Paul Derda Rec Center exploring the opportunities and the exercises available with the Pilates Reformer.
Footwork is how we start our Pilates Reformer workout. We start with the feet, getting them warmed up, warming up the body, bending the knees, getting the blood pumping and breathing deep just to train the body what's to come. Footwork is the best place to start with your Pilates workout. The 100 is the next exercise that we do after footwork, and that is to start organizing the body to curl the spine and to work the breath. Bend the spine and be able to elongate it at the same time. Footwork starts the blood pumping and gets the heart rate going, and it's a great warm-up to start. Overhead is an inversion, your first inversion here of the advanced series. The inversion is to elongate the spine again and then to use gravity to bend the spine with the use of the abdominal muscles to control the movements up and down. It's a way to warm up the body again and heat it up to get it moving. Another really good place to learn how to bend your spine. Here we are with the long stretches. They look a lot like planks, but again, the springs are not real heavy. There's not a lot of resistance, but enough resistance for support. So the spine needs to stay long, using the foot bar on the hands and the feet on the shoulder blocks to give you the feedback of oppositional energy. So as you do the movements, you're using the contact of the foot bar and the shoulder blocks to help elongate the spine and curl it and work it in the ways that it needs to be worked for the stability. And those are your long stretches. Tendon stretch, here we are upside down again, but definitely a challenging one if you have short hamstrings. But a good way to elongate the hamstrings and at the same time working the control of the abdominal muscles to undulate the spine. Controlling the leg out to the side and then back is another way to work the stability and the core strength in staying in a flexed position. And that's your tendon stretch. Short spine again here is our inversion. Here oftentimes inversions are difficult for people, especially because the feet don't have contact. Here the feet are in the straps and the feet are pushing against the straps to help elongate the spine, and they continue to elongate the spine as the knees go to the chest and the spine undulates down to the mat. And this is a good way to open up the spine and to be able to have better control of your inversions, and that's through the short spine on the reformer. Headstands are a really good way to help strengthen the neck muscles, and great way to find an upside down position to lengthen the spine again and to work the breath and working each muscle group in your body to be able to stabilize yourself with this moving carriage. Headstands are a great way to relieve headaches. Semicircle is a way to do back bends while you're doing flexion, so hip flexion and extension are in semicircle. Controlling the carriage out and holding it still while you move the spine, sequencing the spine up and down. Semicircle helps decompress and open up the spaces between the vertebrae. Semicircle is a great exercise to open up the spine and to circulate the system. Chest expansion is a way to balance the muscles while the carriage is moving. With the breath and the work of the abdominal muscles, the spine is elongated and stabilized while the arms are moving back and the head turns side to side for neck rotation, for release of the neck. And as each movement is done, the spine elongates, and while that elongation is happening, you're working to decompress through the cervicals, through the neck. Chest expansion is a great way to release tension in the neck and the shoulders. Thigh stretch is a great way to open up the front of the hips, the hip flexors. We tend to be really tight and overly strong in our quadriceps and hip flexors because we sit in our jobs. Thigh stretch is a good way to open up the front line of the body, starting with a mild back bend And then as the body heats up, going into a more extreme back bend where the spine can open up and be able to decompress the spine in this movement. And that's your thigh stretch. Snake and twist is an exercise that is done to help with the stability of the shoulder girdle. And actually at this point, when you are doing these exercises, you have developed good strength and stability in your shoulder girdle. So maintaining that stability in the shoulder girdle so that the spine can move in these positions is very crucial. If you don't have that good control in the shoulder girdle, these exercises are very difficult, but this is a good way to undulate the spine and twist it at the same time through breath. And that's your snake and twist. Corkscrew, here's a twisting exercise, but with an inversion. Corkscrew is one that many people find difficult, especially in the mat work. This is one that's done in the mat. You might notice that I'm holding onto the shoulder blocks, and that's to help take away some of the tightnesses of the shoulders and helps with the stability of the shoulder girdle. So while the legs are up in the air, the control of the spine moving up and twisting down into the mat is an exercise that requires lots of good pelvic floor engagement, strength, and into the very deep abdominal muscles. So corkscrew is a great exercise, great on the reformer. Balance control is an exercise that is another inversion that is done on the mat as well. So the legs are lifted up and the spine is curled and continually suspended, using the abdominal muscles, using the lift of the legs to move the legs up and down in a scissor fashion, but keeping one leg lengthening up to the ceiling while the other leg is controlled to the floor is a quite difficult exercise, especially done on the mat. And that's your balance control. Control Arabesque is a fun exercise. It's one that requires lots of length, good control of the shoulder girdle, good control of the spine, keeping that elongation, and good control of the breath. The legs are a big part of coming off the reformer and then standing without holding on in this arabesque position while doing one-legged squats. Control Arabesque is a fun and great exercise for learning good control of your core muscles. Mermaid, great exercise for side bending. Elongating, we don't side bend very much, but this is one way with holding on to the shoulder block or the foot bar. This is a good way to give yourself that indulgent stretch that we so much need. And lengthening the spine with the breath is a good way to stretch our side bodies. Rocking, swimming, and grasshopper are done as a group. The movement happens with the breath as the spine continues to elongate. Really key in this is having good pelvic floor strength, good elongation of the spine, strengthening of the abdominal muscles, and good breath control. Keeping the spine very lifted and suspended after rocking, swimming comes in, and very challenging because now you're on your own to keep those arms up and keep the suspension of the spine. And then grasshopper comes in and bending the back as much as possible to be able to get the feet to touch the head ultimately, and being able to coordinate the legs in a clapping fashion as the spine continues to curl in this back bend. So that's your rocking, swimming, and grasshopper group on the long box. A short box is a series that's done in the advanced form and then also in a more beginner intermediate form. Here I'm demonstrating the advanced form of tree with single leg circles. Being able to have the control of the breath and being able to have the control of the leg and having the flexibility in the hamstrings and being able to move the spine all the way into a back bend and controlling the pelvis in circles is a challenging exercise that is done in the advanced series. Tree on the short box is a great exercise for strengthening the full body. Long spine inversions are great for undulating the spine expanding the lungs, working the breath. This I find very challenging and a great exercise to help balance out the strength in the legs. As the quads tend to be too strong or overly strong, this is a great way to strengthen the hamstrings and to be able to lengthen the spine with long spine. Front splits, here we are standing on the carriage with one spring and having to stabilize on the carriage while moving and keeping the elongation of the spine and keeping length in the spine, controlling the carriage while the carriage is halfway out. So that's your front splits, part of a series that's done with the legs while you're standing on the carriage. Control push-up front looks a lot like a reverse plank, but here again, having the control of the shoulder girdle, having the control of suspending the pelvis while kicking the leg up and moving the carriage at the same time. Great control of the spine, the hips, the shoulder girdle, and then with control push-up, turning it around, and again, working triceps and of course abdominal muscles and the breath. That's your control push-up front and control push-up. Star is a side bend exercise that's done with controlling the carriage out while moving the limbs in various ways. This is a great exercise again for strengthening the shoulder girdle, strengthening the hips and the legs while working the breath and the control of each of the movements with Star. Russian squats, the last of the advanced series. The carriage is the unstable factor. Squatting with both legs at once, finding that stability of the shoulder girdle and the stability of the spine. Great core strengthening to be able to stabilize the carriage while you're pulling the straps. And that's your Russian squats, last of the series. For more information, go to www.broomfieldrecreation.org.